But when we are leaning parasympathetically, then we can approach that which we've been avoiding forever much more gracefully, with more courage, with more fortitude.
Yeah. You know, giving this thing back, being of service, does something with purpose for people early in recovery. That's pretty astonishing. At least it did for me. I was like, well, shit, if I could be a sponsor, you're calling me, you need me? Now I'm valued, seen, heard in a place that I never thought was possible.
No matter what memory or thing you think of, that's not powerful enough to change reality. And that is a very liberating concept.
Yeah. Hey everybody, and welcome to another amazing and exciting episode of Finding Peaks. Yours truly, President and Founder Chris Burns. Really grateful today to be joined by a colleague and a good friend, Dr. Ron Schwenkler. Grateful to have you here, sir.
So good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Ron is the clinical director over at MindSpa, as well as a trauma psychologist, doing a lot of cutting edge things over at MindSpa. But before we get into that, I just want to talk to the viewers a little bit about the relationship we have with MindSpa. We have a lot of folks in our inpatient setting that are near and dear to our hearts. We get them referred out to the appropriate places. Denver MindSpa is one of our community partners, and I just happened to be doing something that I do often about 6 weeks ago. I have coffee with alumni. It's one of the greatest joys in my life, in my career, and I'm walking around with a friend of mine. We're having a cup of coffee, and we're at the park over by the Trailhead program that we have over there, and he starts to tell me about this guy named Ron that he's working with. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool stuff, man, outpatient's going well. He's like, no, this is really different. And I saw in that moment that not only was he seen, valued, and heard at Peaks Recovery, but the next step was just the same. And it meant the absolute world to me to know that an outpatient provider like yourself and Denver MindSpa are showing up in the community for people like my friends who went through Peaks. So before we get going, I just want to thank you for the work that you guys do. What we're going to learn today is what they do at Denver MindSpa is absolutely extraordinary, cutting edge, and more than anything, puts the client first. So thank you so much, Ron, for what you do professionally, personally, and most certainly in the community, sir.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Absolutely. So we want to talk a little bit today. I want to start out talking a little bit about how did Denver MindSpa come to be? I know there's been some iterations of it. You have some partners. We've had Sam on the show before. But how did you guys develop Denver MindSpa?
Sam and I met. I was doing a keynote presentation for Comeback Yoga, and he was in the audience and I was up on stage, and you know, it's like our eyes met, and like
it was love at first sight.
Right? It was like he was very, very excited about some of the stuff I was talking about in my conceptualization of trauma, you know, that incorporates the mind, the brain, the nervous system, and the body, right? And he approached me, and we just started the conversation. And one of my passions is this idea of layered intervention. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I do trauma processing, is we do layers of resourcing. And you know, that comes off an idea, it comes from a trauma theory called comprehensive resource model, mm-hmm. that focuses on resourcing as the primary rather than just the thing that you do when someone is abreacting or struggling, right? Mm-hmm. And so we use resourcing to optimize a person so they can approach the intolerable affect or the trauma or, you know, whatever you want to call it. And so as I was talking about this layered intervention, you know, it's like this idea of like, well, trauma doesn't happen on a singular context. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just happen. Trauma symptoms don't happen at home, or right? They become generalized and it infiltrates a person's life. And so the idea is, it's like, well, if that's how trauma behaves, that's how we should behave, and we should be providing interventions on a multi-contextual manner. Mm-hmm. And you know, that conversation just blossomed so naturally between us. And you know, Sam he's so passionate. You know, and so he just took off and ran and kept putting the pieces together, and then we hooked it all up.
I love that. You may be one of the first people, at least Sam and you, one of the first people you talk about kind of this multi-layered approach. How do you begin to, because the idea, what I've experienced a lot in my life before I got to somatic experiencing therapy, which is resourced along the way, is we go in with our therapist, we sit down, they ask us a few questions, we get into this thing that really hurts, and we're not resourced whatsoever, but on the back end, they say, okay, tonight, you could probably do some journaling, get into your breath work, make sure you do your meditation, connect with your peers. How do you begin to do that in that multi-layered process throughout the course of care instead of kind of on the back end?
That's a big question. So, I think part of it is just our presuppositions. Like philosophically, resourcing is not an add-on. It is a fundamental part to processing. So when we're processing, like some people look at, well, we want to process the trauma to optimize, and it's like, well,
right. Yeah,
sure, but why not optimize what we can to help processing, right?
Yeah.
And so we can get more into how that unfolds, but we just see it as a fundamental part. And so some people come into the, to meet us, and they know they want TMS, or they know they want ketamine, and then we meet them where they're at. And we make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. They're meeting with a psychiatrist to fulfill those interventions, that it's a legitimate fit, right? Other people just know that they have problems and they don't know where to begin. And they often find their way to me or get referred to me from our psychiatrist or ketamine nurse. And we start that process out. And when we're gonna do a piece of trauma work, it's always resourcing first, right? Whether that's just a base layer of appraisal skills, which is like notice what's happening in reality around us right now, or breathing techniques, visualization techniques, attachment techniques to allow them to feel physiologically safe in the room, which is different than psychologically
Much different,
safe, right? Because when we're leaning parasympathetically and we're physiologically safe, and I don't really like that word because there's so much stuff connected to safety.
Yeah.
But when we are leaning parasympathetically, then we can approach that which we've been avoiding forever much more gracefully, with more courage, with more fortitude.
Yeah.
To hold hands with the trauma. Like if people aren't holding hands and getting in touch with the intolerable affect, that moment in the trauma when they couldn't bear it, and that's what set off all the survival mechanisms. If you ain't getting to that point, you're kind of doing trauma work.
Yeah.
But you got to get at that point. And it's very paradoxical because the only way to really get there fully, we believe, is through resourcing first.
Yeah.
You can't just ask someone, hey, would you please consider the worst possible thing that's ever happened in your life?
Yeah. And let's chat about it.
They're like, no. Whoa, right, that goes.
I'm like,
Right.
I love what you said there, because I hadn't had any of that experience in my recovery till about 10 years in. I had done a lot of talk therapy, some EMDR, and there's some resourcing that goes on with a good EMDR therapist for sure.
A good
EMDR therapist. Yeah. Otherwise, they just hook you up and get going.
Yeah.
But something that was so brilliant, and I was like, why are we doing this? I sat down with Polly Fiedler. She's right down the road here, and she's been doing somatic experiencing therapy for about 30 years. Yeah. And I remember she's like, all right, well, let's do this. And I'm like, all right, I'm ready. And she's like, I just want you to close your eyes.
There you go.
Sit back. I want you to feel the earth's energy coming up under your feet. I want you to open up your top chakra, let that life energy in. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is dumb. And then before you know it, I'm like, cool as a cucumber.
Right.
She's like, how do you feel? I'm like, Polly, I don't know if we're going to be able to do any trauma work because I actually feel really good.
So that's a great point.
Yeah.
Sometimes when that happens, because it's almost like a titration issue, right? Like people live their lives in such a stress vortex at best, trauma vortex at worst, that even when they start allowing their body to remember this is what it's like to rest, to be neutral, to be well, I've spent sessions just allowing that to unfold.
Wow.
And then they get more acquainted, they build more mastery with the breathing, with the visualization, with the appraisal skills, I call appraisal skills. Then once that practice that, then we can get into doing the trauma process.
And do you resource every time, every session?
In one way or another.
Okay.
It might just be that, so I want you to notice what's happening right around us right now, in this moment, in reality, right? That there's no guns, knives, or fangs out,
Yeah.
which means you're safe, right? Which means you are secure in this moment, and no matter what memory or thing you think of, that's not powerful enough to change reality. And that is a very liberating concept.
Yeah.
Right? That like, I'll ask people, what's a memory? And they're like, well, it's a representation of something that happened. I'm like, no. Yes, and what actually is a memory? And it's like, we get into it, it's just like, it's a microscopic event happening in a brain that triggers vibration, maybe electricity, signaling to other neurons through neural pathways that release hormones and neurotransmitters microscopically, but that will change a whole person's life. That's wild. And that's like very resourcing in and of itself. And so I'm talking them through that in the moment, just like no matter what microscopic event happens in your brain, that doesn't change that you're sitting in that chair and there's no threat. Now it could be stressful, but there's no threat.
And that reminder is really, really helpful. And I love how you broke it apart in two parts, where there's this psychological readiness, but this physiological unreadiness or unwillingness. Yeah. So I would go in and say, no, I'm ready to go, but my body's just going crazy. Yeah,
and that's where I think, Bessel van der Kolk and Peter Levine from Somatic Experience, I mean, these people really have driven the point home that the body keeps the score. The body bears the burden.
Yeah.
And so we have to allow the body to remember or learn. Because sometimes, some people, trauma starts from the womb.
Yeah.
And so we have literally, it's about allowing their nervous system to recognize that we can let down our guard and step into some of these breathing techniques or visualization techniques to optimize in order to then approach the thing we've been avoiding.
Yeah. I had a lot of, it reminds me of when I started jiu-jitsu. Even in my first year, I'd have a 70-year-old on top of me beating the brakes off of me, and he's like, calm down, Chris, calm down. I'm like, Steve, my brain's telling me to calm down, but my body's not doing it. My body's in this fight or flight. It feels like it's getting attacked, and I'm like, cool off. But it's just not responding well. And I bet it took longer than most folks going in there for my body to finally just settle down and know that it's safe. You also bring up a really good point. It's kind of Eckhart Tollean with this idea of like psychological time as well. If you can get people in the present moment in your office or at Denver Mind Spa and be where their feet are, there's no suffering. Potentially, right?
Yeah, so that's huge.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, because I love what Eckhart Tolle talks about, the psychological time, and if I'm in the past and I'm in the future, it tends to be pretty unsteady. But if I can ground in the moment and I can be here with you, Ron, I don't have to think about what happened yesterday. I don't have to think about what I got going on after this. I can just be in this space with you, which is really nice.
Yes.
I love that.
And so this is a huge discussion because the brain is always going to optimize. The nervous system and the brain are always going to optimize survival over expansion. The key element to trauma, or one of the key elements to trauma, is the brain is going to prioritize the trauma memory.
That's wild.
Which then, for survival reasons, right, this is very important, but it then takes us away from the present moment, right? Because we're always wrestling with that internal system. We're wrestling with managing the internal landscape, which then sends bottom-up messages that, well, I've got to be aware of all the environmental triggers and be on guard, hypervigilance, startle response, all that, that I miss the present moment. So the present moment isn't even an option for some people that have passed a certain threshold of trauma. You got to deal with that in order to reappropriate the trauma memory and put it in its rightful place.
So this idea when clinicians come in and somebody's coming off of some intense trauma, some mental health stuff, potentially some substance use, this idea of like, get present, that's not even an option for folks.
I don't even ask that. I'm like, tell me why you aren't present, because there's a good reason why. right? Like, we don't want to judge trauma symptoms. Trauma symptoms are survival mechanisms.
Yeah.
Like every trauma symptom, if we go down the PCL5 or it's not hard to see it as a survival mechanism, right? But we judge the trauma symptoms, and we don't let them teach us why they're so important. Because a person isn't going to wake up one morning and be like, you know what, I think I want to screw everything up in my life.
Yeah, right.
And start developing this symptom, right? Which
Yeah.
ultimately will lead to self-centeredness at best and narcissism at worst, right? Like, that's not how people work.
No.
Like, they develop into the symptoms for survival reasons.
Yeah. And so a great question might be, you know, what was the reason you couldn't be present?
Right.
Right. That's
tell
much
me why it's so hard to be in the room and be still. And they'll say things like, well, if I'm still, then something bad might happen. Like, I learned very early on that I had to be on guard all the time. It's like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Was there a good reason why you had to be on guard? Yeah, my dad is an alcoholic. My mom was angry all the time, and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, well, that's a good reason for a kid to be on guard.
Yeah.
Oh, you had everything, you were on patrol and everything was fine, and then everything wasn't fine because there's a danger close bomb. That's a good reason to not let down your guard.
Yeah.
Right? There's all sorts of good reasons that these symptoms are there. We don't need to judge them. We just need to be curious about it.
I love that word, curious and non-judgmental, you know. How do you guys feel about, and this wasn't part of the, but I want to talk about it a little bit. Yeah. How do you guys feel about referring people to 12-step? Because it kind of comes into conflict a little bit with that, because you carry some of that heavy stuff, and we talk about it in a negative way, like this is bad, I'm selfish, I'm dishonest, I do these things. But to your point, a lot of that is trauma resilience. And so how do you navigate with folks that are checking into the 12-step program? It's been something new as of the last 5 or 10 years where people are like, I don't know if I want to do that. Prior to that, it was just status quo.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about folks that are struggling with alcohol or struggling with a substance, doing their trauma? Do you guys refer to 12-step?
I'm a big fan of 12 steps, the traditional 12 steps.
Yeah.
There's, over the last decade plus, there's been kind of a Buddhist movement of 12 steps. Addiction is a different beast, right? And you know, I think the comorbidity between addiction and trauma is through the roof. So it would be folly to say, no, you shouldn't do 12 steps. Like, no, you need to get into that, and you need to start and finish it, not just do 5 of the steps.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, I always love that.
You know, the stats are incredible, right? Like, if you do the 12 steps, then you know you're going to have a certain amount of sobriety. If you become, if you get a sponsor, that equation jumps like 10%. If you become a sponsor, those numbers like jump another 20%. So it's this idea of see one, do one, teach one. That is so important, from everything from martial arts to sobriety.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good.
12 steps are important.
Yeah, I love it as well, and I love it in compilation with you know, some really good clinical. I think that helps support it, and you know, I think folks are starting to see it clearly now, and I think it's opened up more in those 12-step rooms, this idea that yes, you should get a therapist, yes, you should get a sponsor and work the steps. And I think bigger than anything with the 12-step program, specifically folks who struggle with shame, you know, giving this thing back, being of service, does something with purpose for people early in recovery. That's pretty astonishing. At least it did for me. I was like, well, shit, if I could be a sponsor, you're calling me, you need me? Now I'm valued, seen, heard in a place that I never thought was possible.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just such a big fan of the classic virtues as well as the values in general. And I think service is just classic and modern.
Yeah.
And I think especially for men, like, we want to be of service a lot.
Yeah.
But certainly with addiction, it's not just about what you're stopping, it's about what you're going to start. And service is a great thing to start when you're struggling with addiction.
And that community piece is
Huge.
absolutely huge.
That's one of our sayings at Mind Spa, is like, be a good mammal. Like, we are mammals before humans, right? Like, fundamentally, at our core, we are mammals. Yeah. So practice, what do mammals need? Community, touch, right? They need, have that direction.
Yeah. No, that's huge. And it's not foreign to you, trauma. You've walked through a multitude of traumas yourself. I think you had a motorcycle accident, 2 motorcycle accidents?
Yeah, well.
What happened?
So And this was, you know, my unfortunate prized education experience were these traumas, right? So I have 2 master's degrees. Well, I have an undergraduate degree that focused on religious studies or cultural studies, some philosophy, a master's degree in counseling education, and then I went to DU to get another master's in clinical psychology and a doctorate in clinical psychology.
You're busy.
So we moved from out east to here to go to DU in 2012. And a month before my program, I'm riding my bicycle, and I get hit by a truck from behind going 65 miles an hour.
Holy shit. How fast were you going?
You know, whatever,
Whatever,
like
20. Yeah.
Right? Like,
Doesn't matter.
Whatever, 16, 17, but
Yeah.
I got road killed. And I mean, there's so many different parts, right? Trauma memory is very succinct, right? There's all these different details, again, for survival mechanisms, evolutionary mechanisms. But I ended up, I had, in that 1 year, from that to a year later, I had 5 surgeries. So I had a surgery every 3 months. 4 surgeries every 3 months. And I was doing my first year of my doctorate program with my helmet cracked. So with the concussion, having a surgery every 3 months, anesthesia stuff, and trying to get through this doctorate program with 3 kids. Wow. And then we were having another one on the way, and this was a year and a month later. I was on my Harley on I-25. And I just finished, I picked it up from the shop that morning, and it was like my gangster dream bike. Oh, really? And it was done.
No.
It was done. I get on it, and I ride to a motorcycle training course. It was always good to have been riding for a long time, but you know. And then that's done, and I get on my bike from that, and I get on I-25 for like several minutes, and I get hit by a kid on a crotch rocket going over 100 miles an hour from behind.
Again. Holy smokes.
So and that accident was way worse than my first accident. So I had like 1st and 2nd degree burns. My ankle was turned around 180 degrees. I spent days in the hospital. I slid over 100 feet on the interstate. I went from the right lane, flopped over to the center lane. And usually on motorcycles, it's not the first hit that kills you. It's like it's the person that's not paying attention that runs over you that gets you. And so I was just waiting
to get
very peacefully to die. And that was because of all the trauma work I did from the first one. So my first one, I was terrified. I thought the guy, when he got out of the car, I remember looking at him and he reached from behind like this, and I started screaming, "Don't kill me, don't kill me," because I thought he was gonna shoot me, because I was on like a back road. Terrified, totally illogical.
Yeah.
Trauma mind, survival. And that, I mean, I just did so much trauma work with that first one that when the second one happened, I knew exactly what was happening. Like, the first thing that came to me is, I can't believe this is happening again. Like,
oh my gosh.
And then the second thing was, "Let thy will be done." I remember saying that word, that phrase, and I just relaxed, and I waited to get hit again, and I was fine. It was one of the most peaceful experiences of my life.
Wow.
Because of all the trauma work that came from the first one. And then I was sliding and I wasn't getting hit. I was just like starfishing on my chest.
Did you have leathers on and stuff?
Just a vest.
It probably wouldn't matter.
I remember the ground, I had a little brain bucket on, I didn't even have full, and I remember being like, well, that sounds good. So I made a choice in the moment to chuck my chin. So more of the helmet can take. I didn't have one mark on my face, and I slid on my chest for over 100 feet on the interstate.
Wow.
Just because of the trauma work and being able to like be okay with life and death. So when the next bad thing happened, I was really okay. Like, it was the test of all tests.
Wow.
So I wouldn't trade those unfortunate educations for anything, except it was really hard on my family, especially my oldest son.
How long were you in the hospital after that?
I was in the hospital for 4 days.
Jeez,
after that.
And how long removed from the previous accident?
1 year and a month.
1 year and a month?
So then I had another surgery. So I ended up having 6 surgeries in 18 months, and then a spine surgery 5 or 6 years later.
Jeez.
On my neck.
Did you have to fuse anything?
No, we got a disc replacement.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's huge, man.
How does your body feel today?
working out 5 times a week.
Doing your thing.
You got emotions,
Yeah.
lotion.
Yeah, emotions, lotion. You got to move it.
It's that old saying, a cowboy saying, either get busy living or get busy dying. Like, you know, I mean, there's a lot that helps me
Yeah.
continue to do the trauma work, continue to do the service, the values work, but also, you know, HRT. You know, I became clinically depressed after the first one, which was really frustrating to me because, no, after the second one, I became clinically depressed because the second one didn't seem traumatic for some reason. It was
like up top.
Because all of the work. And,
Yeah.
But man, I was clinically depressed after that. Didn't have any nightmares, no, you know, the trauma responses were very little. And the depression was severe.
That's what sunk in.
And I was talking to a vet, I was doing a session, and he was talking about his depression and Zoloft, and I was on tons of different medications trying to get at this depression. And he's like, dude, get your blood work done. And he's like, that's what changed my life, is my blood work. My testosterone was at 68.
Yours what? Holy smokes. Wow.
And so then, you know, then I started, you know, HRT, and just consistent blood work ever since, you know, really monitoring my testosterone levels, take a couple peptides. And so, yeah, I mean, I have a headache every day and my joints hurt every day, but still working out.
Did you end up getting a TBI as a result of that? Yeah, and you had concussions as well, right?
Yeah, and I also played rugby in college for many years, so I've had a long history of concussions, but yeah.
How did you treat that? Now, I know you did the trauma work, but how did you treat the TBI and the concussion side of things?
At that point in time, I didn't know about ketamine. You know, I did a lot of psychedelics in the 90s, when, you know, before I got into mental health. I've been in mental health for 29 years, so it was just kind of grinding through and building my own relationship with the concussion. So I would say, you know, without any medical intervention, we're really good at diagnosing concussions, but like, what do you do for concussions?
Yeah.
Well, now we know, like, HBOT and ketamine can really help lower that inflammation. But you got to build a relationship with concussions and get honest about it, and like, stop looking at it as the enemy, rather as your brain is doing everything it can to help you survive. And it's injured. And just because we're injured, that doesn't mean we're weak, right? People get that. I feel different, so that means I'm weak. And people, well, we have to see it as an injury. Like, you took a hit, and now the brain doesn't work as well as it used to. And so we're going to find workarounds. But acceptance and patience is mandatory. Like, we can't, you know, so many people are so upset that concussions are life-changing. My life is still changed from my concussions. I can't remember names to save my life. It takes.
Apparently I can't either.
So we have to, you know, it's like we got to stop judging it and say, like, this is my shortcomings now. This doesn't change my character as a human being. I'm still working hard with my values, but I'm different now.
Yeah. It's like that acceptance piece too.
Acceptance
huge
is
with
everything, whether it's trauma, concussion, all of it.
Yeah. What would you do today if somebody came into your clinic at Denver Mind Spa and they had exactly what happened to you happen to them? How would you treat that differently with the modalities that you guys have today?
Yeah.
And how would that look?
Yeah, I mean, if I could build a concussion treatment plan, it would be, you know, meeting with the therapist, getting the resources. Like, we got to get the framing of how life has changed, and then hyperbaric oxygen treatment. I think, you know, 1.6 atmospheric pressure is like the optimal concussion pressure, and ketamine to reduce inflammation. And so we do ketamine, start at very low doses, get a person feeling comfortable with it. And it's an incredible anti-inflammatory. We have a nurse present the whole time. It's IV, so if there's any reaction to it, we can shut the drip off and get the person, you know, resourced and stabilized. But it's pretty amazing intervention.
You guys, hyperbaric chamber, ketamine, Denver Mind Spa. I haven't I think All Points North has a hyperbaric chamber, but it's not as cool as your guys's.
Yeah, we got a little UFO.
That one is
right?
sweet.
So cool. And it goes back to where we started, right? That layered intervention. It's like, it's not just about the trauma work. It's not just about the change of life work. It's not just about the ketamine or the oxygen. It's all of them happening at a similar time frame.
Yeah, I love that like multi-pronged approach that you guys carry out there. I love that you carry it out by way of just providing astonishing client care. You know, insurance doesn't pay for HBOT, you know, but you guys have the cutting edge HBOT because you know it informs healing for the people that you get to serve. That's what I like a lot about you guys is you have these extra, it's like us with the movement team and the hikes and all this stuff. Like insurance wouldn't pay for that for a second, but it's like there's these quality of life and connecting components that can really help serve people. And I think you guys do that really, really extraordinarily. It's really cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you guys are doing a great job too, and it's just, yeah, we can do a whole other segment on insurance.
Yeah, insurance.
How it is organized crime.
I met somebody. Yeah, it is organized
right?
for
like,
sure.
It's like, why do we want to keep people sick and not pay the people getting people better for all their efforts, right?
Privatize the profit. We socialize the expense. Enough said.
Yeah.
Is there something I've been running into lately as we begin to start to conceptualize, you know, we have TRICARE, TriWest coming on, you know, we refer out for ketamine right now. But one of the things that's kind of butted up against kind of the substance use side of things is, or maybe I should ask you, are there a lot of contraindications for folks who have struggled with substances as it pertains to the modality of ketamine infusion?
Especially, you know, I mean, I am not an expert in that realm. I have heard incredible stories about how ketamine has helped curb a lot of addiction processes, as well as ayahuasca and some of these other, ibogaine, obviously. But there are some interventions that they just are amazing about what they do with that desire, that addiction mindset, and it gets people into wise mind real quickly. I think it's, you know, what's the phrase? You know, discernment is the better part of valor.
Yeah,
so like,
sure. You'll know.
Like, let's be really thoughtful about it. Let's be really thoughtful about your addiction process. And if, you know, this could be a good idea, let's do the research. Like people, like there's no excuse not to know anymore
For sure.
with the advent of AI, and even before that, there wasn't an excuse because everything was searchable. But now it's even easier to understand the scientific data, right? Like all you got to do is type in the right question, and it's like you get footnotes and everything. So people need to educate themselves, and feel good about it while working with the right professional.
Yeah, I love your approach on that, even though you may not be an expert on the substance use side of things. The outcomes for substance use folks for traditional models of therapy are abysmal.
It's rough.
And so I'm a big fan. Now, maybe in my first, 6 months of recovery at 22, ketamine might not have been a thing, but it could have alleviated a lot of the symptomology that's wrapped around kind of this substance use and mental health process. And so I love getting curious, being open-minded, getting to know our clients, but certainly not throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
No, I mean, literally, when I say I have heard miracle stories, and more miracle stories than I did ketamine and it screwed my whole life up. Like, I've actually never heard that story.
I haven't heard that, yeah.
But, like, I mean, it's just so important. And the psychedelic conference was just last week here in Denver. Spent a week there, and it's like, I spoke to firefighters, professional hockey players, professional football players, warriors, dude from special forces in the United Kingdom to, team guys here. And it's like literally miracles happening because of, us being able to think outside the box and allow the psychedelic movement to get some legs.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We went and sponsored a dinner up there where there's a lot of doctors. I'm forgetting her name, but she put on a wonderful dinner. And these people that are coming up and speaking life into these modalities are brilliant. They're doctors. A lot of anesthesiologists are getting into this thing with the ibogaine and things like that. And I was just blown away. And to your point, I think we get it misconstrued with like a K-hole in addiction and this ketamine infusion therapy.
Well said.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And we get mired in that, and so did I. And I had never done any of the ketamine on the outside, but I'd be like, "Oh, that's bad,"
Yeah.
and it's not good or bad.
And then there's some hard stories where it was used as chemical restraints, and that, you know, was tragic. But it's like, you know, so I've never said this before, but there's hard stories in the birthing process. That doesn't mean we stop having babies, right? Like moms and children perish just in the natural order of things. Like, it's tragic. But we don't want to let the tragedy, that's the negative bias, right? Like,
exactly.
We over prioritize the negative than what's happening in reality around us.
Yep.
And certainly we need the science to back all of it up.
Yeah.
But the ancients have been doing it for a long time with zero science.
Yeah.
And it's been working fine.
With very little like mental unwellness at the same time. I love that too, and being able to explore that with individuals. I see folks all the time, Ron, that are their 10th treatment in, it's the same kind of treatment, and you know, there's treatment centers in our environment in the United States that you actually have to have failed 5 treatment programs to get into, because it's the real behavior modification. And they weaponize.
Get your mind around that.
Yeah, it's like, holy smoke,
right?
That's insane.
Right?
Yeah.
That's saying, like, you know, I mean, it's almost like they're facilitating the rock bottom, which sometimes is really important, but like, you need to keep failing, right? So it's not just like, which will ultimately drive a person towards, I am weak and broken. And insurance works the same way. Like, in order to get TMS coverage, you need to have 5 or 3 failed medications. And it's like, right, so what happens after a person? There's two major things that happen when people start failing medications. One is the next medication doesn't work as effectively statistically as the first. And the third works worse than the second. So that came out of the STARS research. I think it's called the STARS research paper or whatever. But also they just say, man, if these medications aren't working for me, I must be really broken. That's the second big thing that happens, right? And so the medication chemically is not as effective, and people start very quickly leaning towards, there must be something really wrong with me if these interventions aren't working.
Yeah.
And like, that's bad.
Shame on shame. Yeah, it's terrible. And what I've realized, and I'm not a doctor by any means, but watching folks titrate on and off of these SSRIs, okay, Prozac didn't work, here comes the Lexapro, let's try this. To watch that individual try and sit in a group process when they're just like feeling so unwell, you know, 'cause those things are pretty hard on your body.
Yeah, and then, you know, I mean, I get it, right? But, you know, psychiatrists don't like it when I say this, but it is educated dart throwing.
It is.
Like, there's a certain symptom criteria, and that leans a person towards a decision-making model to suggest this medication or that. And then let's see how that goes for a while, for a month or 2, is, you know, that's often said to people. And if not, then we'll change it up.
Yeah.
That's like, it can take months to get off medication, or a month to get on.
Well, and now by this point, they're in their IOP program, 60 days in.
You don't have that much time.
Like, what are we doing?
60 days seems like a long time. It's not a long time when it comes to trying medications. It's like, why not just approve TMS right off the bat?
I know.
And see if we can make the progress, because FDA approval on clinical depression, severe, major depressive disorder, severe recurrent, right? Why don't we just try that first?
Or treatment resistant, whatever.
Treatment resistant, that's what that points towards. So why don't we just try it first?
I know.
Right? Then we get to protect their character. Like, maybe I'm not weak. This intervention really helped out. Yeah. And maybe we get to protect some part of their biology where they don't have to go up and down on these different medications.
Yeah. I mean, that would be not being in the business for repeat business.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. We're on the path, you know. It's really, really difficult to work with those folks sometimes, but I'm grateful to have the opportunity to introduce them to, you know, potentially if they've come in from another treatment program. Sometimes we get that where they're coming from another treatment program. They have a few failed attempts already. We can get them right in the chair, you know, and within moments they feel like they have some agency back, you know, which is huge to your point.
Because you guys are doing the research and seeing what they did before and using that instead of that God complex or that ego that often comes to be like, well, no, let's just try this one more time. It's like, no, let's not. You guys are doing a great job.
Exactly. I used to do that as well when we first opened, man. And people would be like, I worked the steps, I don't feel well. I said, which one? Which one did you stop by? It's just like, when needs aren't met, it's really difficult to be here with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult to engage in a group process, not to mention it's a room full of strangers. I'm supposed to come in and with all my trauma, wave my trust wand around.
Yeah,
you know?
that's not smart.
Yeah.
That's poor boundaries.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So talking a bit about the recovery side of things, how do people recover? Well, what's happening for the individual as they recover?
What are we talking about? TBI, just from trauma
Yeah.
or addiction, or what do we?
Let's do TBI and trauma. Yeah.
I think in this way it is similar to addiction, right? It's not about what you're going to stop; it's about what you're going to start. So that's a huge part of recovery. Is like we got to figure out what are we going to start, and so certainly we need to know what the traumas are, what event caused the head injury, what event caused the psychological damage or injury. Certainly we need to build skills, right? And everything from DBT skills, dialectical behavioral therapy, right? Mindfulness skills, interpersonal effectiveness, distress tolerance, and emotional regulation. Like those skills, like everyone would be a better human being if they just concentrated on those, like developing more of those four.
Yeah.
Right? So DBT is great. But also appraisal skills, right? Like we are not like people are generally honest people. I think people try to be honest no matter what demons they're fighting with. But our mind is not very honest. Our mind is brilliant, beautiful, treacherous, silly, and stupid. And it happens, like those 5 characters can happen in a couple moments of each other, right? And so we misappraise, right? We put things in the wrong category. So a big skill is, very simply put, good is good, neutral is neutral, bad is bad, right? Bad is broken up into 2 categories, stress and threat, okay? What's threat? Well, guns, knives, and fangs. Like if that, like, we should approach life, even stress, but there are some things we should avoid, guns, knives, and fangs.
For sure.
Like when that's happening, you're in a threat situation, your nervous system will optimize to increase survival potential, and you'll deal with it one way or the other. If it doesn't fit into that very slim category, it doesn't matter how it feels, it's a stress.
Yeah.
But the problem is people take things from a neutral category or a good category and put it in to the bad category. For instance, just sit still, don't move for 5 minutes, 2 minutes. And people that have unresolved trauma will oftentimes will not like that. They don't want to be still. Like still means danger.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's stillness, neutral, is now a stress. People that have broken hearts, right? Love is dangerous, so I'll stay out of relationships. Well, now we're putting love into a stress and threat category, right? That's not true. It's like, no, that relationship didn't serve you and was hard, but that doesn't make love bad.
Yeah.
It makes all sorts of other things complicated, but love is not bad. Love heals, love organizes, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to get really good at putting things in the right category, and that's called appraisal skills. And I developed that basically through the Buddhist Eightfold Path. It's like there's a lot. There's volumes written on the Eightfold Path, and it's like we got to simplify it. So it's like this is what we want to stay present to, major skills, right? This allows us to build a better relationship with ourselves because we're making good choices. Like, oh no, I can sit here and have a cup of tea and know that nothing bad is going to happen. That's neutral. That's wellness. And I can celebrate goodness, right? I don't always have to prioritize the negative bias, right? And the managing of threat and stress. But these are the habits that we create.
Yeah.
So with DBT, with appraisal skills, certainly understanding and doing good trauma work on the process. And then it's I'm a behaviorist, so it's like you got to do things different. Like when you say, like, what's the treatment plan? It's like, do things different. There's no way around it. You have to stand next to your trauma, you have to learn stuff, and you got to do things different. There's no way around it. If you're interested in change, then you have to do those 3 things.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that appraisal. I don't think I'd ever heard that before.
Yeah, I've been developing it over the last couple of years. It's so simple.
Yeah, it really is. And I've been finding myself lately, almost 17 years in recovery, I'm like, it's neither good or bad.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't good or bad.
And I think we don't celebrate the importance of neutrality enough, right? Like, so how many stress hormones do we have? Like a couple dozen. Like the negative, to optimize survival potential, our nervous system has been evolving or been created, whichever one you want, over hundreds of millions of years. We're really good at survival. We have a lot of stress hormones to optimize the survival situation. Dopamine, currency of the brain, says Andrew Huberman. I love that, right? And it's like, well, that's easy too. Like, you know, something good happens, we feel excited, it's
Right.
easy. Neutrality, we gotta work towards.
Even when you say it, I'm like, I don't know, Ron.
Yeah. Our wellness in calm light, like especially with all the tech distractions that we have, we are not spending time sitting quietly and just enjoying that wellness. We don't spend enough time doing that. So we get that through formal meditation, but also just sitting quietly and stilling your body, right? Got to work at that. That takes effort. Dopamine and stress, that don't take much effort.
That's easy. Yeah. I was trying to think when you said that. When's the last time I just sat neutral?
Yeah.
Now I sat and meditate. I just sit and do breath work, but just sit and be.
Don't move your body.
Yo.
You know?
Yeah.
Don't move your body for 5 minutes. Like, not one itch.
I want to try that.
Right? And so that brings us to, there's so many interventions, right? Like there's the traditional outpatient, interventional psychiatry, ketamine, TMS, oxygen, good psychotherapy, the psychedelic movement, right? But what about like traditional meditation? What about fasting, right? What about sitting in a pitch black room, which I haven't done yet, but I really want to do
Heard
it
about it,
for
yeah.
days.
It's Aaron
Right?
Rodgers
Like
stuff.
that's like, you know, this is where visions were created from the ancients, was just in, certainly they had psychedelics, but like fasting, being still, being quiet, being in a circle and not being able to move for 4 days and just being in nature. Like great insights and visions have come from that space.
Yeah, and to your point, our model has gotten so far away from that very, very simple truth.
Yeah.
And it is so simple, but it seems so like contextually very difficult to find.
Yeah. Go spend 24 or 48 hours in the woods alone, where you feel like you're wrestling with grizzly bears all night, but really it's just squirrels in the leaves. And like watch where your mind goes.
Like it's not what you think.
You're like, you're part of the food chain, but really it's just squirrels. But in your mind, brilliant, beautiful, treacherous, silly, and stupid, your mind takes it to all sorts of places. And we can't stand it. It's
Yeah.
so hard, but like that's where all the beauty is. Well, not all the beauty, but this is where so much beauty can come from.
Yeah.
And again, creating a relationship with self as well as the world.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny. I do that well when I'm hiking in the middle of the night or like 4 a.m. and my wife's like, "There's a bear." I'm like, "It's all part of the process, baby.
Yeah, this is
Let's
all right."
go. Let's go. And she's like, "No." I'm like, "You can't focus on that. You got to be where the feet are, and we got to go. Because if they want us, they're gonna get us." You know.
Yeah.
But that's a very, very interesting point you make. There's something that I kind of want to wrap a bow around this conversation with is like, how does fitness and movement, because that's another thing where when we're doing our authorizations through insurance and they're saying, hey, try this medication, do this, none of it ever says move your feet,
No, wild.
drink water, get sun on your face, get in the cold water, do a sauna.
It's so wild.
It's absolutely astonishing to me.
Well, and what that supports is more wildness, right? So it supports the idea of symptom reduction, right? So we're gonna manage the symptoms rather than practicing being the whole body person that we were meant to be, mammals first, which means movement first. Right? So we're not, of course we need to address the symptoms, but it's like I am interested in you experiencing lower symptoms, but I'm more interested in you becoming a better person, which is not just about symptom management, right? Which gets into another idea that like, I have to feel a certain way to do a certain thing, and I call that the biggest Western lie. That is the Kool-Aid that we all drank.
Yep.
I have to feel a certain way to do a certain thing. And that speaks to symptom reduction.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want to go on a walk because I don't feel like going on a walk. What if feelings have nothing to do with going on a walk in reality, but that's our mind, brilliant, beautiful, treacherous, silly, and stupid. What we need to do is do the certain thing and then notice how it makes us feel, right? And that's how we counter the lie. That's how we push back on that part of Western culture and say, I'm not buying into it. Like, yeah, the medication, the interventions, the resourcing, all this stuff is good, but I gotta walk. Everyone should be walking 20 minutes a day. I had one person say, like, we should be walking we are made to walk 20 miles a day. I don't walk 20 miles in like freaking 2 weeks,
I know,
right?
yeah.
So it's like, you know, but like we should all be walking. We know that we are meant to lift. We don't have to lift heavy things.
Right.
Like I can make a great workout out of 2 gallons of water.
Yep.
Let alone when I was injured, a couple cans of soup. Like if you focus, you can work it out. We need to be active, and we have to stop waiting until we feel a certain way in order to do it. We just need the self-mastery, the discipline that will eventually lead to self-mastery just to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And then, you know, those are my favorite psychiatrists are like, well, we can look at medication, but how much activity are you getting every day? How's your sleep? Like, well, let's address some of this other stuff, right? Right? People go to sleep feeling fatigued, but that doesn't mean they're physiologically tired.
Yeah.
You're only going to get physiologically tired if you roll, if you press, if you squat, if you lift, right? If you engage your body.
Yeah.
Then sleep gets easier.
Yeah. It's interesting you say mammals move. I'm just going to remember that.
Mammals move.
Mammals move.
Well, I mean, it's a cool phrase,
Yeah.
right? But like, every animal moves.
Yeah.
Right? But like, we need to move. We are not meant to be sedentary. Our mind needs that space to be sedentary, as we talked about.
Sure.
Right? But that's a different form of discipline and self-mastery as well.
Yeah, to the point I've started taking my coffee dates out of the coffee room. I say, meet me at the park. I'll have a cup of coffee and we'll walk.
Yeah.
And then we get done, and I've never met anybody that got done with a workout or a walk or some time in the sunshine and came back and was like, hey, Ron, terrible advice.
It's horrible.
Real shitty out there. Yeah, I got worse.
Right.
No, everybody's like, wow, I feel a lot better. Yeah.
Good move.
And so not listening to that and retraining that we just do the thing. And I think that's kind of the way I've formed some of my routine is just like, I don't necessarily want to get up at 4:15. Not necessarily, it's dark out, nobody's up, birds aren't chirping, it's cold. But there's this thing that I do that really provides me some agency and a foundation in my life that allows me to tackle whatever it is. It's really, really beautiful. So I love that you guys are talking about this stuff at Denver Mind Spa, getting people active, getting people well. You know, with the introduction of the hormone stuff, I think that was a brilliant point that you made there. When we're not optimized on that side, we can't show up for life in the way that we need to. So I love that you guys are bringing those on at Mind Spa, right? Beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it's, you know, a big thing in the culture, in the wellness culture, is like, do hard things.
Yep.
And then things start to change. Feelings are really good when it comes to survival mechanisms. Feelings are really good when it comes to love, like, right? And love, I'm kind of a bastard when it comes to, but like love is a long-term survival mechanism, right? The studies are very clear. People with loving, consistent, deep, long-term relationships live longer, get sick less, right?
Yeah,
so like,
absolutely.
I hate to break it down from a reductionistic point of view, but love is a survival mechanism too.
Yeah.
Love is really good to know, like, you know, what do I want to eat today? Do I feel like Italian or, you know, something else?
Right.
But like, emotions complicate things. A lot of things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, emotions are good for some things, but not for working out.
Not at all. They're actually the opposite.
The emotions come as a welcomed consequence to the hard lift or to the thing that we don't want to do, but we were able to do. Then we can feel good about it, right?
Yeah.
But you can't. If you wait until you're ready, you ain't gonna be ready. You just gotta start.
Yeah. I love what you're saying too, because I even, you know, being into a routine that's pretty well established.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like on Monday, I went for a run. I was going to run 3 miles. I start out. I'm like, I'm going to do a half mile. I'm going to do a half mile. No, wait. I'm going to get to the top of this hill because I know when I get to the top of the hill, it'll be downhill. I'll cruise down to downhill. I'll come back. I'll just do a mile. I'll just do a mile. I got to a mile. I'm like, well, the wind's blowing right now. I think I'm going to try a mile and a half. We'll do a mile and a half. It's this constant conversation in this battle of just continue to do the thing.
Yeah. Approach well. Stay in contact. Stay in contact with your mind. Like, don't just have a one and done conversation. It's an ongoing experience.
Yeah.
Just like with people, right? So all right, 3 miles seems hard. I'm going to chunk it down. Chunking it down is great. Right?
Yeah, and being able to listen to your body in that as well.
Totally. And on that note, there's a lot of evidence that waking up early is really good for people, but some people just can't do it. Like I'm not a 4 o'clock guy. I'm like not waking up that early.
And
right? Like the amount of pre-workout I need to get a good workout at 4:30 in the morning is not healthy, right? Like it's like so. Like listen again, building relationship with yourself and the environment. Like you don't, this stuff on the people say like if you're not waking up at 4, you're not going to be successful.
Right,
like,
right.
No, success. There's lots of ways to be successful. Yeah. Find your rhythm.
Yep.
Maybe you wake up at 6 or 7 or 8, and maybe you're going to bed later. Like it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Right? But like, what is working?
Yep.
And that's the internal conversation that we have to keep in contact with.
Yeah, I love that too. And more than anything, I think for me at least, and I know for you, I mean, 8 hours of sleep is the goal. And so if I can get that 8 hours, I'm just one of those people like. The kids are like, Dad, it's still light out. You're going to bed. I'm like, you're going to bed too. Everyone's going to bed. Shut it down. I got my eye mask on. It's over. They're like, dude, you're insane. I'm like, listen, I got things to do. The wintertime, it's a lot better. But wow, Dr. Ron, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I mean, having you on has just been a breath of fresh air. I know the viewers are going to take to this really, really well. How can people in community find you guys?
MindSpaDenver.com.
Right? MindSpaDenver.com?
Yep.
Okay.
Sam's doing a great job increasing some social media stuff, and but I'm old-fashioned. I don't have any social media. Just call us.
Good for you. Good for you. My best friend Christian doesn't have social media, and I bet he's got hours of his life back. Yeah. I think that's
so
really
easy. It's so easy to. It's so much dopamine, right? It's just little pleasures.
Yeah.
But yeah, just call us, man.
Okay.
Just look us up and call us. MindSpa Denver.
MindSpaDenver.com as well. They are fully in network with just about everybody.
I think, there's 6 different insurance, the big 6.
Okay.
5, 6,
Yeah.
big 6. So we just got to keep the conversation going.
Cool. And this isn't, we've had Sam on before, we have Dr. Ron on, we'll have Dr. Ron and Sam on again in a few months here as we begin to kind of build out our TRICARE, TRIWEST track for folks receiving ketamine infusion and TMS. So thank you for showing us all today how this thing is possible. In my opinion, you guys have one of the greatest things going up in Denver. Reach out to them if you're struggling, if you're on the fence, if you just don't know who to call, give them a shout down there. They'll march you in the right direction and take phenomenal care of you.
Yeah, and on that note, real quick, that our TRICARE package is unbelievable. That if people can get approved for TRICARE, then we are offering oxygen and ketamine on the house. So we really, there's with all insurances, there's hoops to jump through, but we want to give back, especially to our service people.
Absolutely.
So big fan of the military and people that are making those sacrifices.
That's a huge deal for those TRICARE folks. I mean, getting that full package for just the TRICARE benefit, I hadn't heard that before, so I'm grateful that you mentioned it. So, thank you, Dr. Ron.
Absolutely, thank you
Yes, sir.
so much.
Yeah. Until next time, peace.